It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Karl Riemensperger. Hi, Karl. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it. It looks like today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is dogs, as I am a huge dog lover. I have two of them, and I was happy to see this profile come through. My producer, John, who we were talking about, mentioned it, and you've written some books. Looks like children's books. Before we get to that, I see you're a U.S. Marine veteran. Thank you for your service. And
oh, you were worth it. Everyone out there was worth it.
He mentioned something about one of your dogs has been diagnosed with cancer.
My current dog, Gunner, the dog that is the character in the book series, the Gunner Goes series, diagnosed April of 2023. It was a soft tissue sarcoma on the hind left leg, and we did a surgery. Well, they didn't quite get the margins. This type of cancer, the way that sort of spider legs in, was touching muscle and near the sciatic nerve. So we did some radiation, which was the next step, and hoped for the best. Well, 6 months later, the growth was back. So we did a second surgery, this time a little bit more invasive, the best that they could do. They didn't get the margins that they needed, so we kind of knew we were only buying some time. And it was May of this year that we felt the lump, and we scheduled with the University of Florida, the veterinarian school for small animals, a consult, and they recommended amputation of the leg if we were going to get clean margin. So that's what Gunner went through about a little over 3 weeks ago. He's doing great. I was very surprised by how resilient a dog his age, he's 10 and a half, how resilient he would be, how quickly he can heal, how fast they overcome obstacles. I wouldn't call him disabled at this point. I mean, he kind of runs naturally. He does go up and down stairs a little cautiously, but he received great care, and we look forward to many, many years with him.
Did you get him a prosthetic, or is he just hopping on three legs now?
Yeah, the prosthetic was not an option. He actually had a partial pelvectomy, which means that they took part of his pelvis at the same time. So there's really nothing to attach any kind of prosthetic. Now, because it's the rear leg, right? Most dogs, the way their stance is, they have 60% of their weight on the front two paws and 40% on the rear two. So, he's now putting 40% on that one remaining leg. He hobbles around. But yeah, I mean, I think some dogs would probably, it would take a long time for them to get accustomed to a prosthetic. He's shown that he doesn't need that, even if there was an option to do that. I don't think that's really in the cards for him.
So how many dogs do you have?
Well, it varies because my wife and I were avid fosters. So part of the reason why the Gunner Goes series existed is because Gunner came into our lives in late 2018. We started fostering dogs after I lost my 18-year-old chocolate lab about 6 months before that. And I told my wife at that time, I said, I'm never getting another dog. It's just too painful.
Oh, it's terrible.
When they pass away.
Yeah, it's awful.
Right? So she said, well, what about fostering? And I was like, listen, my wife's usually correct, and she's, I follow her guidance on many things. And I think that the fostering aspect of it is a really important portion of animal rescue that a lot of people don't think about, because a lot of the response I get is, oh, I would never be able to do that because I would just try to keep them all. And I mean, we actually have our 49th dog. So getting back to the original question, right now I have two. One is a foster. He's been here just about a little over a week, and then Gunner. But we have found perfect homes, forever homes, for 48 of the 49. Well, actually, Gunner is a foster fail. I don't know if you know what that term is. A lot of people think, oh, foster fail, he must have bit somebody, right? He wasn't. You weren't able to adopt him out. I said, no, no, no. The failure was on the part of the foster parents. We failed. He was doing everything right. We did everything wrong. We ended up keeping him. But so there's the occasional foster fail potential that comes through with 49 attempts at doing this. Gunner was the only one that was a foster fail.
So when you say foster fail, that means that they were unacceptable as owners of the dog?
No. Again, a foster fail means that the foster parents, like Karen and I, we work together. We have a dog for a week or two or a month, 3 months, and let's say we end up keeping it.
I see.
The reason why most people keep the foster is because they fall in love, right? They think this is a great dog. He fits in perfect with our family. And Gunner is, there's a lot of fosters that will come through and say, yeah, this looks like a good place. I want to stay here. Well, Gunner mastered that. He looked at me. He saw I had a big hole in my heart, right? So true dog, canine, wolf instincts are go for the weakest of the pack, right? So he went for me in a good way. He would follow me around. For 2 weeks, he followed me around. And everywhere I went, and my wife said, we're keeping him, right? And I said, nope, he's going. We're going to find him a good home. And it just took one more week, and I was smitten, and that was it. I mean, so, the dogs know, what is a good home for them. And some of them have been through terrible circumstances. Others have just, been owner surrendered for some unknown reason and, not mistreated and, have great behavior and all that. But the dogs know, what a good home is. And we gave that to Gunner. And so I wrote the first book, Gunner Gets Lucky, because Gunner got lucky, but we also got lucky. Our family was lucky to receive him into our own family. You
said that you had one that was 19 years. Is that old for a retriever? That's got to be, I think. Yeah.
He lived to 18 years old. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a difficult decision. We had to put him down. His quality of life had eroded to the point where, he just was not himself. And we knew it. 18 years is actually really good mileage on a Labrador Retriever. I mean, I think when you get a Labrador, you're thinking 14, 15. If you get that much out, that's pretty good. You got a good life for a dog. 18 is just super fantastic. I mean, that 18, you're talking more about the smaller dog breeds that live to 18. But he gave us 18 years, and that you can understand, when you bring an animal into your family, at least this is the way that we feel, they become family.
Of course.
Right? You treat them as if they're a family member, and you, with Gunner, I won't even tell you the expense that we went through with 3 surgeries and radiation, right, over a year and a half period of time. But I would have done that for my own child, right? I would do that for my child. I would do that for my dog or cat if I had a cat. I'm not a cat lover, but we like dogs. Nothing against cats. They need help too. But we got into this animal rescue and fostering because of my 18-year-old chocolate dog named Max. She has a dog with a little bit of anxiety, and she asked me the other day, she said, does Gunner ever do anything naughty? I'm like, I have to think about it. I can't think of anything that he has done that is naughty, right? Or that I would have to scold him for. He's a very, if you ever got to meet him, you would understand why he was inspiration behind the book series that I wrote. I've had several dogs throughout my life, but not a one besides Gunner inspired me to write a book series for children. Again, I got more involved. All of those dogs in my past were rescues, but I got more involved with rescue. I understand the trials and tribulations, the lack of funds, lack of volunteers and supporters that they go through, the amount of intakes that they have to deal with, the vet bills, and we always wanted to give back. So this is a way, when I sell these books, we donate back to primarily the rescue that Gunner came from, which is Florida Retriever Rescue, and they're in Clearwater, Florida. But if we happen to be working with another rescue at the time at an event, or we do a special online series, then we'll donate to a different animal rescue. But the whole reason for this is to give back to the animal rescue community. They do so much There's, and it's. I just saw an article yesterday, and I had to post it on my Facebook because it's so saddening. A particular rescue that has about 100 dogs already in their care. Yesterday before 3 p.m. had 15 owner surrenders, right? And you got to start to think, how do you deal with that? 15? They had to turn people away. And the response from people is, well, aren't you a rescue? And they're like, yeah, we're a rescue, but like we can't help every single case, right? 5.2 million dogs check in to animal shelters every year, and only 2.6 million check out. That's just the brutal reality of things that people don't understand. They're ignorant to the fact that you bring a dog in as an owner surrender to a shelter, there's a good chance the dog's going to get euthanized.
And the people get the dog, and then after 6 months or whatever, they just get rid of it.
Yeah, we've had several. The worst type that we've seen are the gift dogs, right? So somebody for their birthday thinks it's a great idea to go out and purchase a dog for, as a family gift or what have you, and the dog ends up in rescue a year later because they were not signed up, right? They did not sign up for 15 plus years, and that's what you have to when you adopt or you purchase, right? You need to understand it's a commitment. Dogs live 15 years plus.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to commit and you're only going to keep the dog for a year, or maybe even you get to 7 or 8, and your lifestyle changes, and you're like, I got to owner surrender this dog, right? You didn't do the dog a service by keeping it for 7 or 8 years, because now it's going to go into a shelter, and a lot of people like the puppies. They don't want to deal with an older senior dog. I love the senior dogs. I think they're perfect. I love them because they're already trained. They already know what to do, but you're not doing a service, and you can't convince yourself, well, I kept the dog for half of its life, so that's pretty good, right? No, 15 years. If you don't keep the dog in your family for the entirety of their lifespan, you failed. You failed that animal.
Yeah, exactly.
And people, there are rescues, there are shelters that's their function, is to pick up where other people leave off. But as mentioned, they are overburdened, and they don't have the funds, and there's dogs that are going to be euthanized. The rescues don't do it. The rescues will pull. What the rescues do is they pull the best dogs out of the shelters, right? Rescues don't euthanize dogs.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Karl. We've got just a couple of minutes left, and I want to make sure we get your books in here. So you've got 4 books published. Why does it start with number 2? The thing I got says book 2, 3, 4, and 5.
No, well, there's 5 actually. So the first
book
5, first book is Gunner Gets Lucky. That's still under the Gunner Goes publishing company that I created. There are 4 that follow. There are actually 7. There's 2 more that are an illustration, and then there's an add-on, which is an 8th, which is still an illustration. So within the next 6 months to a year, you'll see 3 more books come out that will complete the series at 8. Okay,
and these are children's books. What age would these be for?
They're written at the 3rd grade level. People ask me, my child is 3 or 4. I'm like, yeah, definitely buy it. Read it to them every night. They're going to love it because it's very colorful. By the time they're 5 or 6, they're reading the book because, again, half of the words in the picture book tell the story, and half the pictures tell the story. So they're able to pick up the message behind the story. And this particular, the first one, Gunner Gets Lucky, is an opportunity to have a dialogue with a child at a very young age about adoption and rescue, right? So that when those children grow up in their 20s and 30s and they have a family and they're thinking about getting a cat or a dog, they're more likely to think about Gunner. I want to get a rescue dog, so they go to a rescue in a shelter, right? As opposed to purchasing a puppy that, quite frankly, might end up in a rescue or a shelter.
Yeah.
But 8 books total, written at 3rd grade level. Now the 8th book is a book entitled Gunner Gets No Grapes, and that's written at a 3 to 4 year old level, and it is designed to teach children what you're not supposed to feed your dog, what types of human foods are good, but seriously, which types of foods are bad. And grapes and raisins are one of those things that kids sit at the TV with some raisins and start popping them to their dog. Next thing you know, their dog is at the vet, right? So we want to be able to teach good pet ownership, and that book is special to me. Just we want to prevent dogs from getting ill and potentially passing away because they got the wrong food.
Okay. Well, I think on that, we got to wind this down, Karl. Thank you so much for coming on. And again, it's the Gunner series. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yes, it's www.gunnergoesseries, all one word, .com.
Okay.
So from there, you can purchase any of the books. Gunner also has a plushie, the main character. Have a look at it. And also, he's on Facebook. He's got 12,000, 13,000 followers on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And that's all at Gunner Goes Series, so you can find his tag on any one of those social media platforms.
Okay.
Some pretty fun videos. You can watch him hobbling around as a tripod now, if you want.
Well, Karl, thanks so much for coming on and sharing interesting stories. And best of luck with the book series and with Gunner.
Great. I appreciate it, Douglas. Have a great day.